Yo, what's good everybody? It's me, JT, and we are back today with another video, and I'm very excited to be making this video today because we are going to be talking about Crash 4 It's About Time. Now, if you guys and gals didn't know, Crash 4 It's About Time released a little bit last year in the November to December range, and it was a new game for the PlayStation 4. Very new game developed by Toys for Bob, a new team that I'll go into more about later on. But this was a really good game, and it was very fun. It was very unique. It had a lot more different things in it than I could have ever imagined coming from a Crash game, and this game has actually managed to land on my tier list spot of private Crash games that I enjoy, taking up number 2, which number 1 would be Crash 2 Insanity, the old classic on the PlayStation 2. But this game has seen tremendous support, and that support has allowed it to be ported over to the Xbox Series X, PC, and of course Nintendo Switch, and it'll also be given next-gen console updates for the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X as well. But the one thing that I wanted to focus on with today's video is sort of looking at the comparisons when it comes to Nintendo Switch versus the prior PlayStation 4 gameplay, because of course, as you all should know, Nintendo Switch is a very interesting console. You know, they're trying to make sure that when they port games to the Switch, it's made well and that it runs as best as it can. You know, I think Witcher 3 is probably one of the best ports to come onto Nintendo Switch, and following that would be Doom, and there's a lot of optimizations that those games had to have, and it's a little bit different when it comes to Crash 4 because we've seen the pictures come out, and it seems that the developers over at Toys for Bob, which are the original makers of this current game, did a lot of different things that most people don't do when porting Crash 4 over. Now, I want to look at this tweet here and talk about it with everybody because this tweet says here, the Crash 4 Switch conversion is interesting. Rather than downporting the game and by decreasing the resolution and having a blurry soft look like many ports, they've reworked the models and assets to have something more cel shaded, keeping the res high but keeping a different look. And they show off here a couple of looks from it, a couple of pictures from the Nintendo Switch version compared to the PlayStation 4 version, and it looks very interesting. Now, you can tell on the PlayStation 4 version there's a lot more shadowing, there's a lot more, you know, natural color that you would see from many other games. You know, if you look at his weapon, the glow from that can be seen a lot easier on the actual weapon itself, and you can just see that there's a little bit more detail in the PlayStation 4 version. I'm not shocked by that. I'm actually, you know, I'm very happy to see that there. But you come over to the Nintendo Switch side and you look at something a little bit different here. This game doesn't look that bad on Nintendo Switch. It honestly looks really good for a port. I would rather it look like this than look like some fuzzied out blurry mess, and you can tell that they did go out and they did do a little bit of reworking in terms of how this game looks on Nintendo Switch. The glow on the gun is obviously not that there, you know, it's not that big, it doesn't show off, it definitely has a glow to it, but it's not advanced, you know, it's not like the PlayStation 4, and you can see that there's a little bit of a shadow difference and a little bit of a light difference when it comes to Nintendo Switch as well. They tried to pull the crank back and make sure that they could optimize the game and make it look better, and that can also be seen within the second screenshot. The second screenshot actually looks a lot more better compared to the PlayStation 4. A lot of people have been saying this because, you know, Crash is one of those games that sticks to more of a cartoony aspect, you know, just vibrant characters popping up on the screen. It's not normal for Crash, and it's actually really a big first for this new game, but it definitely works on Nintendo Switch, and that's something that I'm glad to see here, especially with these other screenshots that have been shown off as well. I think that they did a really good job, and it's not the looks of the game that I'm worried about, but it's actually the frame rate and the performance of the game. If you guys and gals didn't know, Crash 4 It's About Time on the PlayStation 4 runs at 60 FPS, while it has been downscaled to 30 FPS on the Nintendo Switch. Now, I know 30 FPS is a lot more playable, you know, it's definitely one of those things that it takes a certain gamer, you know, after playing it a little bit, it gets used to, and I hope that they optimize the shadowing and the blurring to make it look smoother and give a better, interesting interaction with that. But I've just known Crash 4 and Crash games in general to be games that are more, you know, more linear. They're more platforming based, of course, it's a Crash game, and there needs to be heavy precision, and that usually requires a smooth frame rate. So I'm interested to see what the Toys for Bob team is going to do in order to allow this game to achieve the same playability as it would on a next gen or even previous gen console like the PlayStation 4. But overall, I'm very excited to be seeing this game reaching new heights. You know, it's very exciting to me because I love Crash. I grew up with Crash. I grew up with Nintendo and Sony in my household, and it's just good to see that this game is made available also on Nintendo Switch and on Xbox and PlayStation 5 as well, with added upgrades to the content there. I think a lot of people are going to have fun fun with this game, and if you haven't really played a Crash game before, give it a shot. This is the best game to play. There's a lot more elements in there. I think it's made for the modern fit of society, you know, the general modern society that we have nowadays. You'll definitely enjoy it because there's just interesting things happening on every single level, and it's one of those games that can be difficult, but there are settings to make it easier if you would prefer that experience as well, and it would also give you the opportunity to just have that feeling. You know, this game makes me feel like I'm on my toes sometimes. You know, I squinch my toes up, I'm like, oh my god, I just made that jump. I've never really had many games make me feel that way. Crash seems to come back every single time and lets that happen. So definitely give this game a shot if you haven't. It's 100% recommended from me. Go out and give it a try when it releases there. But what do you guys and gals think about the comparisons with Crash 4 with the PlayStation 4 and the Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think the Nintendo Switch looks better? Or do you think that the PS4 obviously would go out and rival the Nintendo Switch version? What do you think about the FPSs as well compared to Nintendo Switch and PS4, with one being 30 and the other being 60? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below, and without further ado, peace out.